Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast produced by a British biased bloke with a massive Swede full of very questionable wheel knowledge. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome back to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG. My name is of course Tommo. Pre-race CHINWAG time for the 2025 Emilia Romagna Imola for Simplicity Grand Prix. Thank you all for coming. And Famke in the live chat, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Famke. Happy birthday to you. Welcome everyone. Pastor Sense, Mitchell, Large Man, Vladislav, Emmanuel, Shabby, Sense, Mohammed, Rainer, Bastian, Jerome, Kenji, and the rest of you. It's a pleasure to be back. And we're doing it live. We're live. Okay, thank you all for responding to my YouTube community post. If you do consume these on YouTube, you will have maybe seen it. I posted it, when was it? Like last week, I want to say. I posted this kind of asking the question of whether I should keep this as a live podcast on YouTube that then goes after the fact via YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts to anyone who's not watching live, because most of you out there aren't watching this live in the moment. And typically the poll is very split. 37% of you think it should stay live, 30% not sure either way, and 33% as a YouTube premiere. But I've decided to keep it live as best I can. I've lowered the latency on the stream, so hopefully you're not going to have any buffering issues. If you do, here is a lot of you, even though you're not watching this live, do value the live aspect because, you know, all of you degenerates who are here live, and thank you. We can beef, we can have our arguments, we can have our tiffs. And, you know, even if you're not here live, it's still fun to listen to us all fighting and beefing amongst ourselves. So thank you for all of your comments. Loads of comments, over 7,000 replies. It's very humbling, actually. It's quite easy with this amazing job that I have to forget that there's actually so many of you out there. So I really do appreciate it. It gets me in the feels. It really does, but I'm not gonna cry on stream. That wouldn't be very. I mean, that'd be a Lomo moment, wouldn't it? Absolutely. So, Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. We are back in Imola. We are back in Italy. It's good to be back, even though, yeah, for me, you know, maybe this is the time for the first poll of the live TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG stream. Imola, what do you think of Imola as a circuit? Is it again, only 4 options, YouTube? I'll keep banging this drum. Give me a 5th option. Is it a banger? Is it a clanger? Is it a small bang? Or is it a mild clang? What do you make of Emilia Romagna? Now, of course, venues, nations with more than one Grand Prix, I know it's not a massively popular take, but I think it's completely fine. We have multiple Grand Prix in the USA because you can't really treat the USA like a country. It's more like it's more, you know what I mean? It's so massive. It's a continent essentially on its own. Italy, you're trying to get 2 races in when you've not got a German Grand Prix. You know, we've not got a South African Grand Prix or any African Grand Prix at all. And I get that argument. But, you know, on my ideal F1 calendar, there would be more than one Grand Prix in the US. Absolutely. There's far too many quality tracks in the USA to not have that. But, yeah, I just feel like Imola I can definitely say goodbye to. I'd love to go while F1's still there because it seems like a super, you know, super old school. Very close to the track. You can see the houses knocking about around the outside, people looking through their windows, you know, not getting a free ticket. And Australia knows under because Australia's population, I'm doing it more based on population, not just, not population, not just geographical size. It's like we should have 5 Grand Prix in China because it's massive. I think the racing history in the USA, the fact that it's essentially a continent, in terms of population and all that, I don't have a massive issue with that. But yeah, I think where you've got 2 Grand Prix in Italy, none in Germany. I actually was thinking, and maybe this is, let me know in the comments if you think this is a good idea. Actually, Hannah, I wrote down Right down on my phone, I've got my little list of when I come up with video idea titles. Where did all the German F1 drivers go? And I would genuinely like to. I might see if I can reach out to any kind of German F1 journalists, because the heyday of your Schumachers, your Vettels, your Rosbergs. We've got Hulkenberg representing right now, and obviously Audi coming in. But beyond that, doesn't seem to be a huge number of German drivers coming through the youth system either. And we've got no German Grand Prix on the calendar. It'd be interesting to get a perspective on that. But I digress. We're not here to talk about a potential German F1 driver video. We're here to talk about the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. We are indeed. Circuit overview. Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Idino Ferrari is the technical name of the track, which I definitely butchered there. And it's not in the USA. I just forgot to get rid of USA in the graphic, but never mind. 4.9 kilometers, 63 laps. We are also going to see for the very, very first time the C6 compound tyre. So, of course, if you know your tyre stuff, right, you got compounds. C1 is the hardest in the Pirelli range. Now C6 is the softest. It used to be C5, but they've added an additional super, super soft compound to be used on certain Grand Prix weekends. I didn't expect to see this until Monaco, but they've brought it one race earlier at Imola, C6. So it'll be C6, C5, C4 as the range this weekend, which should, I guess the idea is to try and not mandate, but encourage teams to go for two stops, because two-stop races are typically better anyway. Because there's a bit more unpredictability, and certainly at Monaco, where we're going to get that two-stop mandated, that's going to be very, very, very interesting. And Imola, look, I mean, what are you saying in the poll regarding the circuit itself? 12% of you think Imola's a banger, 41% small bang, 41% mild clang, 7% clanger. So you are about as evenly spread as you could be. The average is literally banging them. The average is mid. It's a mid track according to you lot, and again, it's one of them that has suffered with the ever-growing size of Formula One cars, the dirty air problem creeping back in, even though at the start of these 22 regulations, it wasn't so bad. The field spread was bigger then, but the dirty air problem was less, and now we've kind of gone inverted, and I think Imola's suffered for it. Obviously, we do have you can get some crazy weather there. Obviously, you had the flooding in Emilia Romagna, wasn't it, a couple of years ago? And sometimes you get a little bit of that affecting the race. As a circuit in isolation, I think Imola's all right. I don't think it's a great F1 circuit, though. I think there is a distinction there. It's like the distinction I always make with Catalunya. I really like Catalunya as a racing track, but as an F1 track, F1 has its specific needs. And a track like Las Vegas, down the strip, that comes alive in Formula One machinery. Would it work so well with what World Touring cars going around it? Maybe it would. I don't know if it would, I'm not so sure. So, yes, Imola, that's how it's looking. But what happened last time out? So I think my microphone's a bit quiet, isn't it? I'm just going to carry on, because then you don't have to update you don't have to change your volume settings. What about last time? What happened last time out? Well, of course, Max put it on pole, held off Lando, and Lando was catching at the end, wasn't he? He was pushing full send. This was prior to the real explosion of McLaren kind of dominance almost. Well, and Ferrari in a way, actually. They outscored McLaren, didn't they, in the second half of the season? But this is one of those races where it really felt like, okay, this Max domination period has come to an end, I guess, is more the point I'm trying to make here. It was pretty interesting. It wasn't a worldie of a Grand Prix, but there was that excitement at the end. Lando you could tell he was really pushing it. It was right on the raggedy edge, but Max held on, took the win, and it was fine. I can't even remember what I rated the race last time out. I watched the highlights this morning just to refresh my memory, and they weren't the most groundbreaking highlights. I'll tell you that for free. So hopefully this time out in Imola, it will be a little bit more interesting, and we have upgrades galore this weekend, which we will get into a little bit more detail about shortly. But briefly, before we get into that, quality head-to-head, little refresh. And as you can see, I have blocked out Gasly, Doohan, because Doohan's been dropped. Colapinto is going to be in the car. Therefore, this gap, this 0.271 average delta Pierre Gasly ahead of Jack Doohan will be set in the sands of time forever. Because, I mean, well, they've said that maybe there's a route back in for Jack to that Alpine seat. I believe it when I see it. Colapinto's in. He's bringing the bag. And you know what? Now that they've done it, the thing I hope for more than anything else is that Franco does a good job and that he merits that actually, right, he is a step up from Doohan and isn't just there because of the Argentinian backing in terms of the fans who are going to buy lots of merch and, of course, the sponsors that have come along with Franco. I hope it was worth it. I really do, because I think Franco's a great character. I think I think someone like him, his personality, I think is actually really good for F1. I like having a variety of characters knocking about, but a big, bold personality like Franco Colapinto, I think could really set himself for a long career if that performance level that he unlocked at Williams can continue during his time at Alpine. Remains to be seen. But yeah, the biggest gap by far on average is Verstappen Tsunoda. Yuki's not really got in any kind of momentum in qualifying. He has got to Q3 a couple of times now, but in terms of that gap to Max, it is still absolutely vast. He just needs a clean qualifying weekend. Is this the place for Yuki to pull it all together over a lap? I'm not so sure, but we'll see. Time will tell on that. And then it's Alonso, Stroll 3 tenths, Hadjar Lawson just under 3, Russell Antonelli 2.5, Ocon Behrman basically 2.5, Leclerc Hamilton 2, Hulkenberg Bortoletto 2, and then Piastri, Norris and Albon Sainz just a tenth in those gaps. The first driver, I said, ahead of the second driver, you know what I mean. And again, Gladiator, I know that, you know, Franco, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot in terms of the loud minority of Franco Colapinto fans who have been very, very abrasive, very toxic, very unfortunate on the internet. And the best thing you can do really as a community is just call it out, but also know that doesn't represent the majority of Franco Colapinto fans who just want to back their boy and they want someone to throw their kind of national support behind. And I absolutely admire that. And it's good to see Argentina represented on the grid. Unfortunately, you're going to get that. But again, that's the anonymity of social media enables people to feel that they can act in ways that they never would in real life. But there you go. Right, so driver standings are as follows. Oscar Piastri 131, Lando Norris 115, 16 points between the two of them, and then Max Verstappen down on 99 points, 32 behind Oscar Piastri, which is a fairly chunky gap, fairly sizable gap. And again, these upgrades that are coming this weekend, we're also going to see some of them in Spain. There's not much value in bringing upgrades to Monaco unless they're really going to unlock a lot of qualifying pace. So you might as well just use a bit more of that development time and wait for Spain, because these teams know Spain so well because it used to be FP1 forever. So yeah, I mean, we could really see things changing this weekend. This is going to be an incredibly difficult weekend to predict, and I think that will reflect in my predictions that I've given out. I've tried to apply as much logic as I can, but it's very hard to in this game. Big weekend for Ferrari, and well, it's always a big weekend for Ferrari because they've just been probably the most disappointing team this season, just in terms of expectations. What they set at the end of last year, where they are right now, it's not been good enough. And that reflects, of course, in the team standings as well, where they are fourth. They are still behind, even with that second Red Bull seat, still not cooking. Ferrari is still fourth, which kind of speaks volumes. And Williams, 37 points on the board. Would have been 5 more if not for that. Damn. Ouch. Painful. But hopefully that 5 points that they lost in the sprint in Miami through Alex Albon's speeding transgression does not come back to bite them. That's the plan anyway. Right. Okay, cool. Right, let's briefly go back to full screen. What I'm going to try and do with these live streams is that whenever I'm full screen is a bit more, I'm going to have a look at the live chat, I'm going to do super chats, a bit more chill waffle. And then when I go to where I'm in half of the screen, then that's when we're kind of getting through the business, all right? The business. Thank you, David, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Whose idea was Imola, Monaco, Spain together boring? Well, the geography was... Whoever you think designed this world, whether it was the Big Bang, whether it was Jesus, whether it was someone else. Well, I'm not suggesting Jesus designed the world, but you know what I mean. I'm not. Can you tell I'm not religious? I don't know, but it makes sense logistically. And look, I mean, Spain's going to be the Madrid soon. Carlos Sainz is doing a show run. It was announced literally like an hour ago. He's going to do a show run at some point. I'm not sure when. In his Williams around this new Madrid. I guess when it's ready, right? Because it's not quite yet. Imola again. I think Imola. I would happily see that replaced with Hockenheim. I'm more of a Hockenheim kind of person than a Nürburgring kind of person, but either or, you know, I'll take German Grand Prix back on the grid, make it happen. Monaco, the 2-stop. I've been banging that drum for so long now. If the 2-stop doesn't make it more interesting, I'm going to look very silly, but you know, I'm open to it. I'd rather put myself out there and not be afraid of getting shot down, even though I can deeply embarrass myself, but we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. And the Madrid, I mean, certainly from the AI-driven Assetto Corsa mod, whatever it was that they put out. I mean, it's not inspired too much confidence, is it? But let's see if Madrid can cook with that. Carlos Sainz is back in it, but of course he is. He's an ambassador, so kind of got to take his word with a pinch of salt, haven't you? But yeah, thank you, David. Appreciate the super chat. You want V8 supercars content, Mish? That's a bit niche. That's a bit niche. I mean, I used to watch a bit of V8s when I was a kid, actually. Just never live, obviously, on like Motorsport TV, classic Motorsport TV. I'm sure they had V8s on there. Maybe they didn't, but I used to watch Motorsport TV. Not my stuff. I'm more disappointed in the car than I am the drivers at Ferrari. Such potential being wasted is infuriating. That's from DR4 Forever. DR Forever, sorry. Yeah, I mean, we'll get onto that. I think it's a good opportunity to have a little chinwag about. Oh, and thank you, Stephen, by the way, for the super chat. Great to see you on TalkSport with Ali yesterday. Can he believe? Oh God, I was on TalkSport yesterday morning. I had to get up I was on at 6:30 in the morning with Ali Mulquist and Gabby Bonlahor. And I was just, I definitely talked a bit too much, but there was so much to talk about. Just in regards to, there's been some Red Bull rumours about Christian. I don't give much to it, but you're always going to see these rumours popping out now, aren't you? And the Ollie Oak situation, which I tried to summarise as quickly as I could. But yeah, Ali McQuest, what a legend, by the way. What a legend. Just, oh God. I was a bit starstruck, I'm not going to lie. But that was good fun. Right, okay. Let's briefly talk about, actually, yeah, we'll talk briefly about the teams and specifically upgrades, because I've said it's now or never for Mercedes in the thumbnail of this live stream podcast, which I'm sure you have liked already, but make sure you have, just in case you haven't. This is huge because this is the start of the European leg and this is the time to bring upgrades if you can. Imola makes sense. If you can't bring upgrades for Imola, then Spain is the next best option because, again, it's still within Europe where all the teams are based. And it's not Monaco. Monaco doesn't really make too much sense from an upgrade point of view. We've got a lot of teams doing a lot this weekend to various amounts and various levels of information. I'm just going to briefly go over, but I would recommend F1 Unchained if you are here. I know you are sometimes here, pal. His video, I've linked it in the description, where he's going over all of the team's alleged upgrades going into this weekend. Things can change. We don't know 100% what everyone's bringing, but it's a really good video. I would definitely recommend you watch that after this one. I'll just briefly go over the long and the short of it. Aston Martin do have upgrades planned this weekend, potentially floor, front wing, talk about side pod as well. We don't know for sure on that, but Aston definitely need something big time. Red Bull, obviously Max was running the new floor in Miami. he didn't, get everything he needed from it. But hopefully, from Red Bull's point of view, they've been able to look at the data and find a way to better optimize that floor for Imola, the new floor, give it to Yuki as well. Other than that, I'm not aware of too much. Maybe a front wing and nose as well for Red Bull racing this weekend. But again, it's Imola, and then it's Spain with any additional upgrades. Plus, with Spain, we've got the flexi wing change. So we're gonna find out basically after Spain, or from Spain onwards. We're really going to find out the lay of the land on the grid for the remainder of this season. Mercedes. Now, Mercedes is a big one. Again, the reason I put them in the title, in the thumbnail, should I say, is that they're banking pretty heavy. We believe that Mercedes have got some fairly sizable upgrades coming this weekend. New floor, rear wing potentially as well. So it feels like now or never, because if they bring all the upgrades this weekend in Imola and it doesn't give George and Kimi, but particularly George, that extra couple of tenths that he needs over a race distance, particularly actually. In quali, it's not so, it's close enough in quali probably, but in the race, it's just managing those rear tyres, which McLaren have such a good hold on right now. If Mercedes can give him something, then George has kept himself within the fight, absolutely, points-wise. So this is huge. This is a huge weekend for Mercedes. Huge, huge, huge for them. Williams, not aware of anything that they're bringing. McLaren, some tweaks maybe specific to the circuit in terms of floor diffuser, but nothing much other than that is known about. Remains to be seen. Floor and diffuser, maybe front wing for racing bulls. Haas, they've got high-speed porpoising problem. Now, Imola's not got loads of it. It's kind of more medium to low speed, but there are some high-speed sections. I guess, when does a corner go from being a medium speed to a high speed? Because that first kind of section of corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're pretty high speed, I would say. Imola is a good test of lots of different types of corners, to be fair to it as a circuit. So yeah, Haas have got to sort out their high-speed porpoising. And upgrades this weekend potentially will be looking to fix that. Ferrari, now again, this was from Unchanged's video, so again, shout out to him. He mentioned that it seems that Ferrari are actually pushing most of their upgrades back to Spain, which is pain in itself. There might be some small tweaks for Imola, but other than that, it's going to be Spain, the main focus of the Ferrari upgrades that are hopefully going to save their season, because, that still leaves over half the season left, I guess, after Spain, if Ferrari can find something, but they're giving their drivers an even taller order by bringing the upgrades in Spain versus 2 rounds earlier in Imola, assuming the upgrades actually work, by the way, which there is of course no guarantee. So we'll see about Ferrari. And then Alpine, I don't think they're bringing anything. I'm not sure. Don't know. Sauber, also don't know. So that's my brief overview of that. But again, check out F1 Unchanged's video. He does great stuff, and he's really good at collating all of the upgrade stuff. I always watch his stuff to kind of get an idea going into the weekend of what upgrades are going on for what teams. So, can we get a hairline check? Absolutely not. The Great Recession is upon us, okay? The Great Recession is upon us. Oh, dear. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to turn up the mic a little bit, because a few of you have mentioned it's a bit quiet, so I think that might have helped. Okay, right. So, we've talked about that. Couple of news bits before we get into the bangers and clangers, actually. A couple of news bits. So, appears we might have been wrong about the Ollie Oakes story. So, obviously, I did my 2 live streams. One after the news broke that Ollie Oakes had resigned as team principal of Alpine, and then another one after it was announced that Colapinto was replacing Doohan. And all fingers were pointing, both from me, from us as a community, from all the journalists, that this was a breakdown between Briatore and Oakes, between the senior management and Oakes, and linked to the Colapinto Doohan situation. And maybe it actually was a coincidence. Maybe we were all wrong. It maybe seems that way because if you haven't seen the reports, the weekend prior, I think on the Saturday, I want to say Oaks left on the Tuesday, maybe the Monday. I think it was Monday evening or Tuesday, whenever it was. I think on the Saturday, Ollie's brother got arrested. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the details were, and I'm not going to say because I don't want to get myself in trouble if I've not got the exact information in front of me. But basically, this again is that a coincidence that his brother's arrested and then Ollie leaves, and then there's reports he's in Dubai, and then everyone's going crazy with the rumors about the links to High Tech, and obviously High Tech used to be in part bankrolled by Uralkali, which is Mazepin's old man. I don't know. Like, sometimes the truth is madder than what's the term? Sometimes the truth is madder than fiction. I can't remember what the you know what I'm trying to say. It's chaos. So yeah, there's a lot of allegedlys going on. Exactly, a lot of allegedlys going on here. Christopher, thank you for dropping that one in. Just allegedly. This is all allegedly. Don't take me to prison, Alpine. Don't dox me, Briatore. Don't DDoS attack me, Ollie. But yeah, look, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going on? What we do know is that Briatore is now in charge. And then Max, or should I say Franz, decided to do a bit of Nürburgring testing in a Ferrari GT car. Max Verstappen last weekend, on track with Jimmy, with Steve, and went under a fake name, Franz Hermann, which is very, very subtle, even though the car's fully Verstappen.com Team Redline branded, and he was wearing his own helmet. Like, he could have been a bit, like, I know you run under a fake name, fine, Max, but you could have also done more things to be a bit more subtle. Because he was just immediately called, oh wait, Max is testing. And look, this is the thing. Max holds the cars at Red Bull because he is the only driver since Daniel Ricciardo that's been able to get anything near the ceiling out of that car. And so if he wants to do GT driving around the Nordschleife, I don't think there's anyone who can tell him no, And good for him, because he loves it. He went undercover and he's obsessed with this game. He is obsessed with this game, is old Max. But good for him. Good for him. Definitely want to see him on the podium in Le Mans, in WEC. It's an inevitability, surely. He loves it too much. He loves it far too much. Thank you, David, by the way, for the super chat. How much damage will Franco cost Alpine this week? Oh. So your expectations, David, for Franco Colapinto are low. I'm judging by that, okay? Look, Franco had his moments. Jack had his moments as well. In terms of crashiness, neither of them were, both of them were pretty guilty. You know what I mean? Is a fair cop, but look, I think Franco demonstrated some real raw one-lap pace that if Alpine can, shape it, and which this is Alpine. Don't have a great track record with rookies, do they? And young drivers, they tend to let them go. So again, look, I really hope this works out. I really hope this was worth it, and Franco does a good job. Oh yes, Rayner as well. Thank you for reminding me. Also, another bit of news. I don't have an overlay for this, but Carlos Sainz Sr. has made public his desire to. Is desire a strong word? His openness to sit against MBS for Mr. FIA, basically. And James Vowles has also spoke favourably of Carlos Sainz Sr. doing that role. Now, it's so political at the FIA. The way that it's being spoken about and the things that I've watched and read about it, it literally sounds like it sounds like a general election. The way it's been spoken about. Essentially, you need a single figure to stand against MBS for then for them to consolidate that support, right? Rather than having, MBS and then 3 other people, and then that vote gets spread amongst the 3 others, and MBS still wins. You need a single figure, and whether that is Carlos Sainz Sr., I think he would be a very, very good fit just based off of the legacy of the Sainz name, his current connection to Formula One through his son. Conflicts of interest might come up with there a bit, maybe, but I think Sainz Sr. comes across very well. I think he would be, I could absolutely back that. But ultimately, the desire right now absolutely is more get MBS out and get anyone else. Sorry, but that just, I had zero faith in MBS. Zero faith about his ability to effectively manage, and the amount of departures we've had from the FIA and the scathing words people have had to say about him. We got to stop the rot. You got to get him out. Someone's got to go in. If it's Sainz Senior, if it's Jacques Villeneuve, I mean, imagine that. Imagine Jacques in charge of the FIA. Wow, heads would roll. I mean, Seb would be great, and Seb would get obviously a lot of the Seb would get the fan vote. I think realistically, like having experience, because I think Sainz Senior, doesn't he have like a role in Spanish motorsport, or he already has some kind of managerial, ambassadorial seniority within motorsport from a, because Seb was an amazing driver. He's got great morals, and he carries and garners a lot of respect. I think there's a lot of things in that FIA presidency role that Seb wouldn't know, but also I think he's a quick learner. I think he doesn't necessarily have the experience, only still being in his late 30s, but I think he absolutely could build that and grow that and develop it. And with Seb that he would point the sport in the right direction, because he loves this game as much as anyone else, but also he's not just throwing out mad statements about climate change isn't real and blah blah blah, right? He's got his head screwed on, and I think preserving the future of motorsport, you need someone who's like sensible, and I think Seb absolutely is sensible. Absolutely. Seb is good woke. he's positive woke. That's funny. I like Liberty Sound. That was good. That got me. Ross Brawn would be interesting, definitely. Ross Brawn would be very interesting. But yeah, just no MBS, and we can be happy, okay? And we can move on from there. Right, okay. Bangers and clangers time. Should we get into it? At a very, again, difficult to predict Emilia Romagna Grand Prix this weekend. So who's going to win the race? Well, looking at upgrades, okay. Again, McLaren got some tweaks. Red Bull, hopefully they've learned from the floor change that they made on Max's car in Miami. Mercedes, some significant upgrades. Ferrari, small upgrades. Most of them coming in Spain. I'm choosing to believe that George Russell will win. And Dan, if you're still here, Dan literally shouted this very start before I even went live. Dan was like, Dan Mass, George Russell will win this Grand Prix. And that's exactly what I predicted as well. I think Mercedes have gone long enough banging their heads against the wall with these regulations, and have finally got a stable, consistent car platform. And I think their upgrades this weekend will give George Russell enough to win this Grand Prix. We'll see. We will see, won't we? We will see, okay? Hell no. We will see, okay? We will see. But what about you lot? Well, 1,137 of you voted. Thank you very much for voting. If you didn't see the poll, make sure you subscribed to the Tommo YouTube channel. I will post it on my community post and on Twitter at Tommo McCluskey. I also post the polls over there. So, What do you think? Who's going to win this race according to you, the people? Your winner, the 2025 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, is Oscar Piastri. 35% of the vote, 32% for Lando Norris, 14% Max Verstappen, and 7% of you see the light. 7% of you went George Russell. 7% of you went George Russell. I can't speak today. I just can't speak. It's a bit kind of slight problem with this job when you can't speak, you know. Anyway, banger driver next. Who is going to perform best? They might not win the race. They might win the race. You can go for the same person, for race winner and banger driver. But who's going to perform well? Well, once again, I'm choosing belief. And looking at the list of upgrades, there is a team that is hopefully bringing floor, front wing, maybe even a side pod change this weekend with a driver who deserves so much more than he's getting from the machinery underneath him. And hopefully this difficult season will be worth it for 2026, where Fernando Alonso can win his third F1 Drivers' World Championship. I'm going Fernando. I think Fernando in the points. That's what I'm going for. That's my big prediction this weekend. Fernando Alonso will get into the points in the Aston Fartin, I guess. It's the kind of best way to describe it right now. Yeah, I'm going Fernando. I think Fernando will get in the points, top 10. And Aston Martin will find something in an upgrade that can enable Fernando to do it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because, yeah, you know what, Liberty? And I think that is a fair cop. Fernando, I agree, has underperformed as of late. It is always difficult to know how much of it is the car or the driver, but I do also think that clearly, you know, Fernando, and I think this would be the case for most drivers, if you're in machinery that you know is not giving you a chance, and you've had a career where you've been fighting at the front so often, it's going to be hard to find that extra little bit of motivation when you're in a car that has been so stinky as of late, you know. So Fernando Alonso is going to be my banger driver this weekend. Your banger driver is Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Home Grand Prix, first home Grand Prix. I guess he kind of obviously had his run out in Monza, which obviously ended very abruptly last year. But first proper home Grand Prix for Andrea Kimi Antonelli. It'll be very, very interesting to see how much. It's still going to be a Tifosi domination at Imola, but I reckon there'll be a lot of Mercedes merch knocking about as well with Andrea Kimi Antonelli on it. So, have I got a fever? A fever is the only explanation for my terrible predictions. Well, they're only terrible if they don't come true, which we don't know yet. So, yeah, you've gone Antonelli as banger driver, 28% of the vote, 11% of you have gone Charles Leclerc, 8% George Russell, 8% Max Verstappen. Okay, clanger driver next. Who's going to stink up the place? All right, who's going to do a terrible job? I've said Gabriel Bortoleto. Sorry, Gabby. Nothing personal. I just think Sauber are going to stink. And he had really good early season momentum relative to Nico. And now I think Nico's starting to kind of take over. And Gabriel's lack of experience is starting to show a bit more. Even though in many ways, you know, Miami wasn't a bad race for Bortoleto. But I just think Hulkenberg, it's really hard for the Sauber boys to show what they can do. But I just, yeah, I had to go with someone. So I've gone Bortoleto. Sorry about that. And your clanger driver is Franco Colapinto. His first appearance in Bangers and Clangers this year. And it's a clanger driver prediction from you lot. 22% of you went Franco. 13% Liam Lawson. 12% Lewis Hamilton. 9% Lance Stroll. So Franco, because things ended in, you know, a crashy way, there's anticipation that maybe that is how this will start with Alpine. I hope that is not the case because they can't afford the crash damage. And only so much sponsorship can pay for so much crash damage, right? So I'm sure Franco would have learned what he did well during his time at Williams, what he didn't do so well. And hopefully we'll bring that to the fore as an Alpine Formula 1 driver. We'll see. Banger team. I've gone Mercedes. if George is going to win the race, Mercedes are going to give them both upgrades. That Kimi could well be on the podium as well. But George win prediction is the one that I'm sticking by, and I think Mercedes is going to have a fantastic weekend. I'm choosing belief. And your banger team is also Mercedes, 27% of the votes. So I'm not chatting out my rear end, right? For once, come on. 20% McLaren, 16% Ferrari, 15% Williams. And then finally, clanger team, Alpine. Alpine, because you've got a new driver coming in. Imola bites as well. It's old school, so there's a lot of gravel. So you make a mistake, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle. And, Oak's leaving. There's so much. There's going to be a lot of negative attention on that team this weekend. And yeah, I am concerned. Even though on paper, actually, I think this track works quite well for the Alpine car. Down the straight's always going to hurt them, but I'm just not feeling great about Alpine this weekend. And as for you, 25% of you went Aston Martin. 20% Alpine, 18% Ferrari, 7% Red Bull. We're going to learn a lot this weekend. We're going to learn a lot. And we're going to learn even more after Spain in 2 rounds' time. Time will tell, though. Time will tell. We're going to see, because again, Monaco at the best of times is a quali race, let alone right now where the dirty air is robbing us of better wheel-to-wheel racing, in my opinion. But there we go. There's your bangers and clangers. Oscar, Kimi, Franco, Mercedes, Aston. And mine, George, Fernando, Gabriel, Mercedes, Alpine. So only one the same this weekend. Let's see who ends up on top. Let's see who ends up on top. Cool. All right. Excellent. 42 minutes in. I didn't mean to show Franz Hermann again. Sorry, not Max. I'm going to start mixing up their names. Franz Hermann. Chat. Any other things we haven't covered? Again, thank you. I want to say thanks once again. I really did appreciate how many of you responded to this community post, because it really helps. Because while I'm just doing this on my own, it's really good to have that feedback sometimes, and like understanding more about how you lot consume this in all your different ways, and trying to, make the best thing for everyone ultimately, because, making you lot happy with my stuff means that you continue watching my stuff, because there's plenty of alternatives. So thank you for all your comments. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, the plan is to keep this live, turn the bit rate down a bit, is hopefully helped with lagging, and yeah, just, having my chunks of time where I'm chatting with the live chat, and then chunks of time where I'm just focusing on getting through the show, as I like to call it. I like to think of it as a show. Maybe that's a bit self-indulgent, right? But I like to think of it as a bit of a show, and I'm the host. I'm the host with the most that's just a bit rubbish, isn't it? Beard looks great. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you. I gave the neck a little shave up before we started. Appreciate it. Oscar Piastri wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Time will tell. V-carb banger inbound. Do you reckon, Mish? Do you reckon? V-carb banger inbound. Max Hermann, my hero. Why am I back on this one again? I just keep going to Max Hermann. Franz Hermann. Franz Hermann. Stop calling him Max. His name's not Max. It's Franz. God. Let him have a alternative personality, Max is like Bronte, and I'm like Joe. Sorry, Franz is Bronte, I'm Joe, and Max is Louise. And if you know, you know. Yeah, I've got the prop and everything, If you know, you know. Double dog upgrade. Yeah, we've still got Ollie's downstairs. We've got Ollie for a little bit longer. We're looking after him. Minton's BFF. Although they're both knackered all the time because it's so warm outside. So Antonelli win. Decorin. Antonelli win. Big. Mick Schumacher to Cadillac. Yeah, we've seen Seb's been endorsing that, but obviously he's biased, understandably. He's got a really great relationship with Mick Schumacher. I mean, I think it has to be Checo in one of those. It has to be Checo in one of the Cadillac seats. Although Checo has spoken about other teams being interested in him, and I'm sure the Cadillac Checo deal works definitely from Cadillac's point of view. But if Checo can get in a team that has, I mean, who knows, right? Maybe Alpine drop Gasly and just go full Colapinto Perez, full Americas, right? Because, you know, they the bag, they need the bag, honestly. I think, when does Gasly's deal run out? Does Gasly's deal run out at the end of this year? Not sure. David, if you want to see Tomo uncensored, then go subscribe to Tom Over Par and watch me play golf and swear at myself. I'm working on the edit in my downtime of my second video on Tom Over Par, because I'm loving me golf at the minute. And I just had an amazing range session day before yesterday. I felt everything was just going straight. It was good. So it's going to be terrible next time I play. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, no, I'm glad most of you here in the live chat are happy to. Yeah, I'm going to keep this going live. Also, I realize I can just bump the latency down a bit from ultra low to low, so I still see your messages in chat fairly soon after they're sent, and it just means that, you know, no buffering issues ruining the stream like they usually do. Gasly's contract ends whenever Briatore wants. Well, that's a good point, Kira. That's a good point. F2 and F3, yeah. Oh, yeah. Didn't even, you know, and yeah, I don't. No eyes on the F2 and F3 this weekend. I don't even know. I'm assuming both race at Imola, right? I literally can't remember. Typically they do, don't they? I'm sure they do. Opinion on the Seat doc on Netflix. Not watched it yet. Alian, I've not watched the Kimi Antonelli doc on Netflix yet. I haven't, because I've been watching that one. So we'll see. Tom will come. What golf club do you play at? I'll play at various ones, Sabotage. Various ones around the Essex, North East London area. Yeah, I think the lower bit rates helped out. I agree, Christopher. I think it seems to have watched. It's a decent watch. Yeah. What's the Is the Kimi doc good? Is it interesting? Thank you, Matthew. Always happy to accommodate some Australians out there. If you're up bright and early. Or no, it's evening, isn't it? It's like, it'd be like 9:45 in the evening in Melbourne. What's my handicap? Well, if I can hit low 90s, I've hit 85, but that's the only time I've ever hit in the 80s, and just everything was going right. But typically I'm like 91, 92, that kind of area. Yeah, it's a good doc. Okay. I'll have to check it out. Once we've got through you, then we'll check out the Seat. Give it a go. All right, sweet. I think we're done. 48 minutes down. That's a decent amount of time for a pre-race Chinwag. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, I'm gonna have a nice rest of my week. I hope you have a nice rest of yours. I've got some little keep an eye out. Something's happening next week regarding me and the channel, and just keep an eye. All right, I'm very, very, very excited to share it, but we stay silent for now. Gladiator, Aaron, Boo, David, Mysticism, Bass, Dylan, Omar, BW, Alex, Dioff forever, Wulong, Andrew, Sunita, Kame, J-Web, Kira, Liberty, Road Rage, Haroon, Jim, Dan, Dylan, and the rest of you. Thank you all for joining live on YouTube. Thank you all for watching after the fact and supporting and interacting with what I do. I really do appreciate it. It really means the world to me. And yeah, I'll see you next time. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.